Where do I even start? That's the question I hear most from families who've just inherited a property that's in a trust. And it makes sense. You're dealing with grief, coordinating with siblings, you're looking at a house full of decades of belongings, and you have legal documents you don't understand. The stress is real. Here's the good news. You don't have to figure it all out alone. I'm Corinda Wong with Team Wong Hawaii, and today I'm giving you the complete roadmap for selling an inherited property that's in a trust. Every phase, every deadline, every decision point, all mapped out so you can navigate this journey with confidence instead of confusion. Phase 1, balancing your grief with practical responsibilities. I think the most common mistake is feeling overwhelmed, not wanting to deal with it, and just ignoring it and letting time pass. Time passes really quickly, and then when you start to deal with it, you feel behind the 8 ball to know what's happening. If there happens to be a mortgage on the house, or if the house is on a reverse mortgage, you really want to have that information. If there may be taxes that are due on it, like property taxes and all that, I know you don't want to have to address all these things, and you just want to not think about it all. But when the time is right, those are the things you need to look at so you know exactly what you're dealing with. If there is someone in the family that is more the practical, get things done kind of person, I would lean on them to at least start the process. What is the steps we have to do? What phone calls should we make? What needs to happen? Because that person can handle it. I don't think you could ever have somebody who's grieving start going through the process until they're ready. That is the one thing you can't change, is when the person is ready. But I will tell you, it does help to reach out to somebody to help. An attorney, accountant, a realtor. I've helped lots of clients. They have a family member, a parent that passed. They're going through a lot. They give me a call. We just sit and talk through things. It doesn't have to all start out with the selling. It's understanding the situation, the process, just helping them go through things that they don't want to have to think about. If you start looking at the practical sides, one of the first things you should do is make sure you can find the trust. I like to go back when somebody is creating a trust. I actually tell everybody you should let the people who are in the trust know what your expectations are, what's in the trust, what's going to happen. A lot of people don't talk to family members. They pass, then the first time they see the trust, and sometimes they don't even know what everybody wants to do. So I would say, I know that goes back further than what we're talking here, but I highly recommend that. Then once somebody has passed and you're going through this process, it is finding the trust. Make sure it's in a place that the family members know where it's at, or they at least know the attorney who put the trust together. I have a story of a client right now that we cannot locate the trust. They really need to sell this property, and we cannot find the attorney who did the trust. The firm that he was with has closed down. We cannot find him, so we may end up having to go to probate. So it's important to have a trust and let everybody know where the trust is. Phase 2, legal documents and title status. This is the phase that you start gathering legal documentation and you verify what the title is for the property. The reason I say verify the title to the property, you may think the property is in the trust, but you want to verify that it is in the trust. I had one situation where the family all thought the property was in a trust. They found out the property had been removed from the trust. A family member had talked the grandmother into getting a reverse mortgage on the house so that the grandchild could borrow some money. The lender required the property not to be in the trust. They pulled it out, did a reverse mortgage, and never put it back into the trust. So when the grandmother passed, not only was there a mortgage the family did not know about, the property was not in the trust, and it required the property to have to go through probate. So you need to do that as one of the things, confirm what the status is of the title of the property. And as for all your legal documents that you're trying to prepare, like I said before, you want to have the trust itself, you want to make sure to get the death certificates, You also want to work on getting your EIN number for the tax ID number for the trust itself. And the last thing is you may want to make sure that there is some bank account that has the trust name in it. There have been people who do a trust but never make a bank account with the trust name. And then it makes it hard for you to do anything for the trust with the lending institution. So I would check to see if that was in place already, a bank account with the trust name. There's one more documentation you can get, and that's called the date of death appraisal. You want to have the date of death appraisal because it makes sure that it sets that basis. When your parents got the property, maybe it's $150,000 they paid for it, and now it's worth $1.5 million. So that's a lot of capital gains you're going to be able to avoid. If you don't have the date of death appraisal, there are other ways to assess the value so that you're not paying it at that amount. You could look at previous tax records. You can try to figure it out, but the date of death appraisal is usually the best way to do it, and it gives the more accurate value, which will help your accountant when they try to figure out what your current capital gains is, and if there is any capital gains. You will need several copies of the death certificates. Almost every institution will want a certified original copy, so I recommend getting 15 to 20 copies of the death certificate when you request it. These are the kind of things that when you ask a realtor, they'll be able to help you through that process, be able to find their appraiser, help you with those documentations, verify the title, things of that nature. Phase 3, property assessment and preparation. Property assessment and preparation is all about understanding the value of the property that has been inherited so that you know if you want to sell it, if you don't want to sell it, if you're going to rent it, all that. You really want to understand what the assessed value is and how to prepare the home if you are going to do either of those things. So you want to know what it entails to prep the home. Some people, it's nothing, it's been well maintained. Or your family member could have let the home go in major disrepair, and so now you're having to deal with figuring out what needs to be done to the home. I really believe that real estate professionals want to help. We want to be able to guide you all along the way. You can bring us in as soon as you want, because the sooner we're there, the more we're able to advise you, especially someone who's done a lot of trust sales. They'll be able to advise you all the way through on different things. But at least once you got your paperwork together, you definitely want to call them in so you understand the valuation. Like I said, they could be the one to help you call to order the appraisal for the date of death appraisal. But they're also be able to give you what market value is currently. And most importantly, they're going to be able to help you figure out what if there are things that need to be done and what are the things, and can you help me coordinate getting those things done? That seems to be a big question when people deal with inherited property. It's that, and what do we do with all the things that are in the home? What is the process we do to help declutter or clear out a home? Usually the best thing to do is have all the family members come together first, go through the property, see what they'd like to have in the home, or what is supposed to be inherited. Like if the trust said certain people get certain items, we should let them get those items first, then let the rest of the family come in and check out what is left that they would want to take. The reason I say this is the estate is going to have to clear out these things. And if family members can take it, it's really good to have keepsakes from other family members. But it also cuts down on the cost. If you don't do that with family members, you do end up paying for a hauling service, disposal service to get rid of everything in the home. It is a hard process. I know I make it sound like, oh, you just do this, this, and this, but we're talking weeks and months to go through that process because there's a lot of things to go through. And when you work with somebody who's done a lot of decluttering, they're able to guide you through the different steps. What I would recommend to everyone now is if you're going through that, try to separate things out into what's valuable, what's donation, what needs to be just disposed of, and try to get through that as quickly as possible by doing at least one room, segment it out so you can get through it. I think if you don't break it up and try to do it all at one time, it's really hard unless you have a large family that everybody runs in there and does it all at one time. I've had a few clients that were privileged to have a great large family and they're able to get it done like that. But the majority of the people, it's just a couple siblings. They're working. They're just trying to get through it the best they can. And it does take several months. Say you were a sibling that was having a disagreement with your other sibling on the timeliness of how you guys want to do the decluttering, fixing up the homes. You do not want to get to a point where you're having to go to the court to get it resolved, because that is the absolute worst case scenario if you guys cannot agree. Typically, I find that if we get quotes and we sit down and look at it and we discuss who's going to pay for it, or if we're able to have a vendor pay for it, it's not a quick and easy answer. It all depends on if we can work through to get to a meeting of the minds. I would say everybody should be a little bit kind to one another and just give in a little bit and get to a meeting of the minds, because at the end of the whole transaction, you're still family. The details of those things feel so important at the time that you're going through it. But I think if there's just a little bit more gentleness and everybody communicates through it, we can get pretty close to middle ground and work something out. It might not be exactly the way each person wanted it, but it's a success because we find middle ground and we get things done. Before I continue, if you're going through this situation and feeling overwhelmed, I made a free trust sale guide that gives you a complete roadmap from inheritance to closing. Link is in the description. If you live in Hawaii and need someone to help you through the process, I also have a link in the description to schedule a call with us where we will review your trust and property situation, create a customized month-by-month roadmap, connect you with trusted estate attorneys, and answer all your family questions. Phase 4, listing the property. Listing a property that's in a trust sale has some nuances that are different than selling a property that's not in a trust sale. But by the time you get to this phase is going to be very similar. You've already done the legwork to make sure that the title and how things are handled in the trust, you've done that already. So once you get to this part, it is very similar to a regular sale. It will just be how the distribution of the funds are from escrow, like I had mentioned before. In prepping, you're going to want to make sure to have the EIN number. You're going to want to make sure to have the bank account. Like I said, a lot of the stuff is done at the beginning. So when you get to this phase, you're really focused on the regular parts of selling a home. You want to make sure it's priced well, looks good, marketed well, and you have the right team working for you. If you're going through this process now, and I can only give you one piece of advice, this is it. Work together with your family. That comes before anything else. Work together, make sure you're connected together. It'll make the process easier. Second piece of advice, get experts to help you. If you learned something from this video and found it helpful, you can let us know by liking and subscribing.